we are creatives, right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of why we got into this industry in the first place. So that's something that's innate in us. But having that, learning how to market, learning how to create business plans, how to create strategies and present your ideas to the clients, like that's a skill that you have to learn. And I quickly found out that no, you have to operate in this business, if not the same, but more. You have to give more hours than you were
Like more
giving your
structure.
corporate job.
Yeah.
You find yourself doing work to be doing work and not doing work that you're passionate about. Like I was finding myself picking up gigs that I knew wasn't building my business, but it was helping me to survive financially. I had a really good idea not too long ago, and I'm gonna share it because someone should take it. I'm not gonna take it, but
Do you think that you have to quit your 9 to 5 to still be able to build a business that you love or to live out your dreams? That is not necessarily true. You are able to do both. And I'm super excited to have this conversation today. And the reason why this is important, because I think that often in our industry, we think that either or has to be true and not always take in consideration what are some of the things that really are important to us in this specific season. It might be family, it might be health, it might be benefits, whatever, or you might have a desire. But today we're going to talk about how you can still have a business and have a full-time job that you can continue to learn. So I'm super excited to have my guest today is Miss Aarika Rose Cofer. She is a philanthropic professional, event strategist, and entrepreneur based in Dallas, Texas. She she serves as a philanthropic special events manager at St. Philip's School and Community Center, where she leads mission-driven events that inspire generosity and deepen stakeholder connection. She is also the co-founder of Roses Aren't Red Modern Events and Low and Rosy Creative Studio, where she curates tasteful, transformative experiences that blend purpose with creativity, style, and fun. So thank you so very much for being a guest today.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so very welcome. And one of the things, we actually go to church, the caveat, we go to church together um, in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And so one of the great things is that I like about this podcast is that I love to have people with different experiences and backgrounds in events. Like sometimes we only, depending on where we are in the world, the United States, we may only see one side of events, but not understand like there is a opportunity to do corporate, and then even with corporate, that is even broken down into different niches inside of that. So I will be wanting to dig into like why you do what you do, but share a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump right into the conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is really fun. I also want to say that I'm a big fan of this podcast. I'm a big fan of your content. She's very modest, but I found her on YouTube and it was like, this is some of the best event business content I've seen yet. And so I'm really
Thank
glad to
you.
have this conversation with you. A little bit about myself. My name is Aarika Rose Cofer. I am a mom. I have three beautiful children, ranging from 21 to 8. So all over the gamut. Like you said, I am a special events manager at St. Philip's School and Community Center. I actually started off in events not too long after I graduated from graduate school. When I was getting married, my mother and I did my wedding together. We loved it so much. And then once it was over, we were like, what do we do now? And when we would have that conversation with other people, they were like, you're crazy. Nobody loves planning their wedding. But we did, and we had such a good time. People just started to ask us if we could be involved in their weddings and in their events. And, next thing we know, we're starting a whole business together. I run Roses Aren't Red Modern Events with my mother, Rose. Her name is Rose, Rose Marie. Then in 2009, started I started a event venue with a partner of mine that I knew from my other career in healthcare, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But she and I met, clicked. She was on events, and we found a space together, and we opened Low and Rosy, the first location in 2019. I've been doing Low and Rosy, Roses Aren't Red, and a 9 to 5 career for a, a bit of
A bit,
almost 8 years now, almost a decade. So
yeah.
it's been great.
But you know, the thing is like, even from what you just shared, like you learned the power of connecting with people. Like, I think right there is so valuable because it doesn't matter if you're doing it full time or if this is something you're wanting to build around your life and family and all of those other, is knowing that in order to do this, I do need to. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it by yourself. It's like, I know I need to have someone to help support to be able to do this moving forward. So, with you going into doing originally weddings, when I think of you, I don't necessarily always think weddings. So, where did the shift happen from, hey, I love doing weddings, to now you're really into brand activations, corporate, and those things? How did you make that transition?
You know, what's really interesting is that so yes, we started off doing weddings because our first event was my wedding, right? And
Mhm.
then we just kind of got roped into helping family and friends with their weddings as well. But my background, my professional background was in healthcare administration. And specifically, when I started my healthcare administration career, I was doing management consulting, and I got into, and in management consulting, you have to do a lot of presentations, you have to do a lot of storytelling with data. And so I was very familiar with putting together information.
Mm.
And so that kind of evolved to me doing a lot of graphic design work. And then that started bringing in different types of clients. So that's when we started getting into, working with more branding type of events, because I was able to put together graphics and I was able
Yeah.
to do graphic design. And then it started evolving into working with, nonprofits that had impact stories that they wanted to tell. And then me using my graphic design in combination with our pretty aesthetic
Yeah.
that we have from doing more formal events. That's kind of how we evolved into doing more branding than doing formal and social events.
The biggest thing about the corporate space is I feel that they give you parameters on what they're wanting to achieve, and it's not as stressful and as particular as doing a wedding where it has to be the right shade of pink. Like,
Mhm.
I feel that it's one of those industries. Do you find that you enjoy being in this realm compared to possibly weddings?
I do. And it is very similar to what you're saying. In corporate and in nonprofit, you get some guardrails, right? Of course,
Yeah.
there's a mission that they are looking to accomplish. And that's another thing that I really enjoy about events in particular, is that I think that they should be purposeful.
Yes.
I think that they should have some type of outcome that the guests are taking away with them. So a corporate client will give us a guardrail. They'll tell us the goals. Strategically, we want, to get this message out, or we want, to celebrate this, beyond that, they're kind of like, well, and we're going to use your expertise on making it look good, right? And so it's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, I can do that. Like, I can tell the story, I can serve the mission, but then also I have some freedom to be creative of how we do that. And I think that's the part I like the most about it.
It's the best part about
It is.
it.
It is,
It's definitely the
honestly.
best.
And our brides and our birthday girls and our moms who are having baby showers, they already have a plan in their brain.
Without understanding what the budget is even going to really
Exactly.
cost. They just went on Pinterest and pinned up a whole bunch of stuff.
Exactly. And they're like, do this. And I'm like, okay. And so you get a little bit more freedom when you're working with corporate clients.
For sure. So one of the things I am curious about, because yes, your background is in like healthcare in the medical field, and now you've shifted some. but also to decide to start your own business. Did you have to have any mindset shifts to make the decision to start the business or to even do it part time? Because sometimes people have like the high of the feeling of like, oh, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. And on that high, they just jump out there. Not to say it's right or wrong, but they just go off of the emotions. But
Yeah.
did you feel you had to make like a mindset shift from like, oh man, this can be something I can love doing, and then also let's start doing a business on the side? What was that for you?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting journey. So when my mother and I decided, oh, this is something that we should formalize, this is something we should, go ahead and put some paperwork down and make it take it from being a hobby to a business. I was in management consulting at the time, and it was a very demanding role. I was there for 4 years at the firm, and it was always on the go. I had just had my daughter at the time as well. So this is around 2016, 2017. I just knew that the lifestyle I was living as a management consultant was not the one that I wanted forever.
Yeah,
And I knew that it wasn't going to be feasible for me to live that life and be the type of mom and the type
what
of
you wanted to
wife I
be.
wanted
Yeah.
to be. Exactly. So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to make the sacrifice of starting this business and putting some energy into it as a exit plan. That was really
Love
my
it.
original thought. It was like, this is going to be how I transition from being under somebody else's schedule to
Mhm.
having my own schedule and being able to take my child with me wherever I go. To answer your question, was it a mindset shift? Absolutely. It absolutely was a mindset shift. And I think when I first started, I was very eager to get out of corporate. I was like I need to focus
Yeah.
entire time on this business. Like I need to grow this business. And I actually quit my job 19. And I felt called to do it. I
Yeah.
prayed a lot about it. I felt called to do it, and I actually think it was perfect timing for me to do it. But I also think in that season, I had to quit my job to realize how hard it is to be a full-time entrepreneur.
Say that again. Like, don't let people on trips in Bali who's
Okay.
selling you a course on courses that haven't had real businesses. Okay, let's not say just that they're not real businesses, but we'll say like in the weeds of like a full service business, it is hard.
It's
It's a
very hard.
grind.
And then you find yourself doing work to be doing work and not doing work that you're passionate about. Like I was finding myself picking up gigs that I knew wasn't building my business, but it was helping me to survive financially.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't the right position to be in. So I
Yeah.
went back to work. I was independent for 10 months, and then I went back to work. And also I will say, when I quit my job the first time is when we opened the first location of Law and Rosie too. So I was able to invest some time into that space and into that business, but quickly afterwards I had to figure out how to do both again. And so
Yeah.
I went back to work.
But I appreciate the transparency of it because I think that no part of our journey is ever lost, is all to help. And the thing is that even with your management experience, like I believe that every business needs, especially in our industry, you need one person that is super strong at business understanding and management and doing spreadsheets. Like those are things you had to do as a career that I would bet there are people that have been in the event industry 10 plus years that literally are probably still floundering with understanding and wrapping their heads around. And then there's a need for someone that's super creative that just goes off of the feel goods and the vibes, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing is really finite. So
Yeah.
like it's good that you had that experience to at that your previous job. And it did give you the leeway to be able to build out your passion. And then also too, like it helped you of learning like what are the terms of my business, of what I want to do
That's very
and what's going to be the lifestyle. Because here's the thing, you said you just had a child. So
Hmm.
like if we're giving up working for someone else and then we're going to be just as not present.
Right. Exactly. And that's a great point too, because I had to find, I think a misconception that I had when building this business was that it was kind of what I said, like I will have all this, I'll be on my own time. I'll have my own free time. I'll make my own schedule and I can, manage my family and my business at the same time. And I quickly found out that no, you have to operate in this business, if not the same, but more. You have to give more hours than you were
Like more
giving your corporate
structure.
job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think, this is kind of a drum that I beat on all the time when I'm talking about the dichotomy of having a career and a business, is that you need to learn as much as you can on the job
Mm-hmm.
that's transferable to your business. And just
Yeah.
as you're saying about the actual business acclimate to running a creative entrepreneur business structure, is that we are creatives, right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of why we got into this industry in the first place. So that's something that's innate in us. But having that, learning how to market, learning how to create business plans, how to create strategies and present your ideas to the clients, like that's a skill that you have to learn.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of that. I took a lot of what I was learning on the job, and to this day, still
Yeah.
transfer it over to how we run the businesses.
And even sales. Like, here's the
Absolutely.
thing. Like, I've been an entrepreneur now for 15 years, but before, for 5 years, I worked at a chemical company doing inside sales.
Hmm.
So I don't care about rejection. I don't care about pitching. I know that it's all about forecasting numbers, data, because all that was so drilled into me to do what I did well. And the only reason why I even left corporate, it's not like based off of any, because think about it, 15 years ago, entrepreneurship was not romanticized
Right.
at all, like zero. Like I had no reason to be like, oh my gosh. And I'm saying this with a mom who had a business. She opened up a daycare center when both my parents divorced,
Hmm.
and she had it from when I was 6 until when I was 18 years old. But even with that, she was a full-time teacher. She had her master's in education. She ended up a couple years after, when I was out of college, got her doctorates in education. So I never, majority of the people in my family, all are entrepreneurs and they did well. And I still didn't have it romanticized.
Hmm.
And the only reason why I left was because I was engaged to someone that was in the military and he was stationed in Japan.
Hmm.
And I thought I wasn't going to be able to still work for my company anymore.
Right.
So I share that because, like, now we see people because we think it's so easy, or like those things like, oh, I have all this free time, we'll have all these things. But one thing I will always recommend for someone, I would never tell someone not to leave a job that you're not happy at, or it's not serving you, or you're not learning. Like, or you might need to keep the job so that you can keep your bills and then you can have health insurance. Cause, like, let's be real, they're going to get rid of Affordable Care Act. And like, if I'm this year, I decided not to, because my insurance for health insurance is going to be almost $600 for one
Hmm.
person. So I've been even looking for, because I'm just like, I know I need to have these things, but it's going to go up and keep going up. And I'm like, this is crazy. But the thing is that now when you are working, it's learning, how do you control yourself?
Yes.
Like, how are you controlling your time? How are you managing your energy? How are you taking the time to learn? Like, this is when you can get paid to learn, to grow your business. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
at the stage where I personally don't need to go to events. Like, in fact, I haven't gone to any of the events we've planned in my company for years at this point. And that's not a flex.
Bless her.
Because I was telling some people, I was like, I feel like because my content, people don't see me at events, they just don't think I do it. In reality, I rather, like, I was on the phone in a car talking to one of my vendors last night, and I was like, you know what? I think this is how we should pivot going into this year. And we're having a whole like powwow
Hmm.
on the phone, talking things out, because I learned to partner with
Yeah.
people that love to do what they do instead of me stepping in. They rather me go and pitch it because that's where most people get scared. I'm like, once I get excited about an idea, I won't shut up about it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's like learning, like, how do I go about doing that? And that's why I'm glad you mentioned about the time, is because understanding that now without those guardrails of 9 to 5, and you still have family things. And the thing is that sometimes family thinks because you don't quote unquote have a job that you're available to talk all day long or to like they like nothing pisses me off more. I don't even answer now. But I tell them they know not to take it personal. But I remember people would call me like in the middle of the day, like, what are you doing? Like my mom, like on summer break, what are you doing today? Working.
I'll work it.
Work like I was like, I don't call you during the school year in the middle of the day. What are you doing? But people do have this perception that you just have all this time and you have nothing to do. So
Mm-hmm.
now that you are in this place of managing a venue, you have clients you're working for and with your event planning, but then also you have your full-time job. What does your typical week look like when it comes to balancing work, family, and clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my answer is that it varies. It varies drastically. I will also say, so this job that I'm in right now is the first job, the first 9 to 5 job that I've had that's in the event space. So this was when I just started this role in September. It was a full, I'm going to follow God's plan on this one. It was a
Yeah.
full, like, it was dropped in my lap. It just was dropped in my lap.
Yeah.
And it's at my kids' school and it's in events. So I was like, okay, this is actually kind of the
A
most perfect
blessing.
thing
Yes.
I can do. And I was just, it was one of those things. It was like, I can't be afraid because of course, naturally it was a huge pay cut. But I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to be afraid because it's where the money is going to come through other avenues, and
Yeah.
my time is going to be more well used is the best
Yes.
way I can say. When I was in a job that was not in the event industry, it was such a mind shift to have to switch after 5 p.m. from, I was doing financial technology sales at the time. So
Hmm.
I had to switch my brain off from doing that to getting into event mode. And
Yes.
just that transition was time consuming, and it was just very emotionally draining.
Yes.
And so now that I'm just always in the event vein, that's helpful because it helps me to compartmentalize my time a bit more. So
Yeah.
I have 3 calendars that all lead to one calendar, and I follow that calendar like nobody's business. If it's not on the calendar, I don't
It
see
doesn't
it.
exist.
It is not on my radar, but I literally try to put every single thing on my calendar, including all of my kids' events, all of, every step of the process that I have for my Roses Aren't Red events, Lauren Rosie bookings, all of that, it's all on one calendar. So with that, every Mondays are my most productive days. I take a look at my calendar. I see what is going on for the week. And then, like you said, I call the people who I need to call to get the things done for the week. So if it's my husband and I'm like, "Hey, we have, an event at Lauren Rosie on Friday. I need you to help me set up tables on Wednesday." I have that conversation with him on Monday or the week before. Or if it's, I need to call a vendor and say, hey, let's get on the phone. Let's start working on this on Wednesday so we can be ready by Saturday. So it's
Yeah.
stuff like that I try to take Mondays to just start thinking about every single task and who can help me throughout the week. And I think that help part
Yes.
is something that I didn't do much of in the beginning of my career, but I
Yeah.
found it to be essential at this point of my career.
It is valuable. Like if you're subscribed to the I need to be a superwoman,
Which we are. I mean, like,
in
a lot,
theory,
it's
but
just in
I
this.
don't. at some point you're like, you know what? I need someone to come help and set up these tables. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that you can't. Like, I think that
Right.
sometimes when we're either doing it part time or even if we're growing and scaling and we're doing it full time, it's learning that just because I can do it doesn't mean I need to do it. And it's okay to ask for help. And that doesn't mean that you're incapable and you're unwilling. It just means that you choose to delegate that
Yeah.
responsibility to someone else or to something else.
And I don't know if it's the oldest daughter in me that
Yes, I'm the
always, it
same way.
might be, but but I just never wanted to inconvenience anybody. And especially when it came to my businesses, because it was like, I started these businesses. This is my stuff. And yes,
Mhm.
I got a lot of work on my plate, but this is my burden to carry. But that's not true. There's so many people who are willing to be there and help you out where you need it, but we just have such a hard time asking. We just have such
Mhm.
a hard time opening our mouths, creating a system where we can be helped.
Yeah. And just allowing that. And I think that that also ties right into what the next question I want to talk about is because by you asking for help, it also allows for you to have boundaries when it comes to family, clients, and work. How do you navigate around the boundaries that you set for you to have success?
Yeah, that's really good. That took some time for me to develop. A big boundary of mine right now is that I don't work from 6 to 9 as much as possible because that's the time where I'm cooking dinner and
Yeah.
putting my kids to sleep and spending some time with my husband. And even after 9, I'll open up my computer just to square some things away, but I try not to do much work. I try not to do much work after 6, period.
Yeah.
I mean, I like sometimes it's inevitable, but I try not to. And on the opposite side of that, I do a lot of work early in the morning. I
Hmm.
do a lot of work between 7 and 9 before I get to going on
At
my
their full-time
a
job. Yeah.
full-time job. So I do a lot of work early in the morning. What else do I do for boundaries? I don't know if this is a boundary to him or if this is his boundary to me, but my husband and I we live off the calendar and we share it with our kids. We have a family calendar. I have a calendar with my mom and my business partners. The calendar is really important. The calendar has to be up to date. The calendar
Yes.
has to be clean at all
Yeah.
times. Otherwise, the whole system is just going to fall apart. Um, you know, I it's hard for me to communicate well when there's not a structure for when there's not a structure
Yeah.
in the calendar.
Yeah.
So that's something, it's just kind of creating some tools help me to build those boundaries and enforce those boundaries.
But it's so valuable because that's one of the lessons that I think I had to learn within the first 5 years is because now you have this quote unquote infinite time. But what can happen is that you spend so much of that infinite time doing things that aren't the things that are really aligned with
Hmm.
what is important to you. Like everyone starts a business for some reason. For me, one of the things that was important was that I wanted to be able to also be able to spend time with family. But here I have the time, but because I don't have the boundaries or the buffers and the non-negotiables in my schedule, I'm not spending time, which is one of my core values with how I relate to my family.
Right.
So, like, that's where it's important for us to use schedulers to be able to have, like, what are your non-negotiables? Like, for me, Sundays are a non-negotiable. Like, I
Mm,
don't, like, I may spend some of the end of the day planning for the upcoming week, but I don't care what you have going on that day. Like it's just not happening. Or there are certain days that I might be serving at church. There might be certain days that I know that I need to have like this day off. So I'm not taking phone calls. So if I'm just brain dumping and looking like a bum in the house, I don't care because no one's going to see me. So I can refill my cup. And I think that that's important for entrepreneurs, regardless if they're full time or part time, is to understand to themselves, like, how do I use resources and tools so that I can make sure I can be present to the people or the things that are important to me so that I can create space for both. Because I find the longer we are committed to chaos. It's
Right.
like we're committed to things not working
Yeah.
and having the best of both worlds. And sometimes the best of both worlds is that some days you're amazing mom, some days you're amazing wife, and some days you're amazing at your job. It might not be that they all exist at the exact same time, and removing the guilt or the shame of having to be perfect, because there's not that such thing as being perfect. So I'm
Right.
glad that you shared that, and I'm glad that you shared the tools, because I was going to ask you, like, what are some tools or systems that you like to use to keep yourself sane with having all of these different parts of your life that are involved?
Yeah, that's good. Google Calendar.
Yes.
I know people use other calendars, and there's probably a better system, but I like Google Calendar. It
Some
gives me
people
everything
don't
I need.
even use a calendar except for
Yeah.
a handwritten calendar, which I think is absolutely insane in 2025.
Yeah, no, I don't know how that even works, honestly. HoneyBook, shameless plug.
Yes.
HoneyBook is a great tool. I mean, HoneyBook has saved my businesses, honestly. We use HoneyBook for both Low and Rosy and for Roses Aren't Red. So that's a great tool. And just being clean about using HoneyBook, using the notes.
Yeah.
Again, that's a way you want to create a system where if you fall off the earth, if you go on vacation, if you do anything that your businesses can still operate without you being there. And HoneyBook helps us do that a lot. What else do we use? We use Google Voice. So just a big Google suite,
Yeah.
user. We use Google Voice. Had to take the calls off my personal line.
You want to know what will piss me off fast is someone finding my cell phone number. Like, I'm like, no.
Uh, how'd you get this number?
Like, I intentionally don't put my personal phone number
Yeah,
anywhere.
no, no, it'll drive me crazy. So yeah, Google Voice, keeping that because especially in events, clients will think that you're available
Yeah.
at all times. They will expect that you will respond back to them at 11 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and that's not the case. And
At
so
all.
that's just a way to build some guardrails around, around
Mhm.
around your business and around your personal boundaries. I would say between Google Suite and HoneyBook, that's kind of
Big thing.
operating my life right now.
Do you ever feel like you are always reinventing the wheel inside of your event business? What if you had workflows to help with improving your client experience and how you're executing your services? There is a stress free way to run your business, and I have a free resource to help you with navigating how to go about creating that inside of your business. That's why I have created a free training that's intended to help event business, industry business owners with being able to streamline how they're doing their services so that you are no longer wasting time, potentially making mistakes, or losing clients. This quick training will walk you through how to go about creating your process. It also includes some free printouts and worksheets to help you with being able to map out your plan. Don't let your back office hold you back anymore, and take the time to download the free resource that's in the description today.
Here's the thing is with Google, especially for those of us that have domains, which we should
Mhm.
all have, especially for those that are wanting to go down the route of possibly getting business credit and those types of things, you have to have professional email addresses.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think that, maybe a couple of years ago, it would have not seemed so taboo if it was, sugar, I love sugar 2950 at Yahoo was your business email address. But now I feel like it's pretty present to the fact that your email should reflect your brand and your business. So if you're paying for Google Suite and
Yeah.
it's covering all of this stuff in it, why not use it? Like, why not have your Google My Business? Why not have these different things that's already included in it? They're going to charge you every
Exactly.
month.
Exactly. And you have like Google Drive where
Yep.
we house all of our paperwork,
Yep.
all of our client proposals, everything lives in our Google Drives. So that's a big one. And oh, another one I didn't mention that I use every day is Canva.
Yeah.
Canva up and down. I use Canva for literally everything. May it be for, actually doing event design to doing the
Yeah.
proposals and off of PowerPoint all together,
Hmm.
and I just use Canva.
Yeah, because even now they have such amazing features inside of the presentations feature
Hmm.
inside of Canva. And those for you that don't know is that even with event design, you can buy on Etsy different templates on like chairs and like all of those things to help make it look really nice when you're doing your design, if that's something that you are wanting to know more about. That might
Yeah.
actually even be a great video to do, but
Yes.
I don't teach people how to do the creative. I'm here to talk to y'all about y'all business, the business.
The business
Find
part.
someone else to teach you about the pretty. I need y'all to stop trying to get me to Cash App y'all to book you. Like that's what I need right now.
Yeah, no, really.
Like really. So one of the things that I do want to know from you is like what advice would you give to someone who's scared to even start their event business because they're feeling like they're too busy?
There's so many pieces. One, I want to say that I validate you in feeling that, in your feelings. We do
Yeah.
have a lot going on, and it does feel overwhelming sometimes, and sometimes it feels like how dare I add anything else to my plate. But I will say, if you have a love for events and you have a desire to come into this space, there are ways that you can enter into events without taking on full blown event planning or full blown design work or whatever. You can start doing something small. I have vendor friends who came into the industry doing dessert tables.
Yeah.
I had a really good idea not too long ago, and I'm gonna share it because someone should take it. I'm not gonna take it, but a lemonade stand, like a mobile
Mhm.
lemonade bar where you're doing different lemonades and you have the syrups and you have the garnishes and stuff like that. People will pay for things like that. So like
Yes.
just finding like a creative niche that you think you could do, that you could do well, and then like finding planners that you
Yeah.
can get to know and say, hey, bring me on to your next event. And then you can kind of evolve just being on site at those events, meeting those planners, understanding exactly what kind of lane you want to get yourself into. You can just take some steps to getting there, but you don't have to go full blown, I'm a wedding planner,
Yeah.
just out the break.
Yeah, I think that that's so valuable because it's so important. Like I think we overstep the beauty of having something that we can be niche in. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
think about you can still have both. Like if I had to come up with a number, I would say with my vendors there in DC, I would say anywhere between 50 to 75% of them still work full-time jobs. Like most of them, like the DJs for sure, all still have
Mm-hmm.
full-time jobs. The bartending services, they still have full-time jobs. Like the thing is just because you don't see it on their social. I think
Right.
that that's why people don't, they think like everybody's just out here, scrapping up, being scrappy to make it work. And we're looking outwardly, but we don't know, like, no, they still have jobs. Like, it's
Yeah.
just not a part of their content. And I don't know if it's necessary for them to put it a part of their content because their Instagrams and TikToks are to attract clients, not to
Right.
sell you on their lifestyle. Like,
Right.
them
And
going to
honestly,
work.
it's not very attractive to your clients to know that you have a full-time job that you're doing as well.
Yeah, and they might not even care. Like they're not going to follow you or get on your
Right.
because here's the thing that's important for us in the event industry. We're building businesses, we're not influencers. Some of us might be trying to do both or might be trying to do content creation or whatever the case is. But if you know that your platform is to feature how amazing you are at what you do, it allows for you to do it now. If you're only doing 2 bookings a month, use that time accordingly to showcase, learn how to make more drinks, learn how do you improve your workflow so that when people are reaching out to inquire about your services, that people don't know that you still have a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think
And
that's important.
I love what you said about I love that we're event professionals, we're not influencers. And I think too it's very social media is just very intimidating as a event professional. I can
Yeah.
say, I've been in this space for 8 years. I have never been great at my social media. I've used my Instagram as a portfolio. I haven't been great with the algorithms. My following is not through the roof, but I have stayed consistently booked. And it's because of having good business acumen and
Yes.
getting referrals and you opening my mouth and going to, meeting people and networking and things like that. Is a lot of times I find people who want to get into events just feel so intimidated about one, the saturation of the market that they may, they want to join, but then also that, that what they're putting out as content isn't strong enough to build a following. But that's not the truth. One, everybody needs an event professional.
Yes.
How many vendors does my school use right now just on putting together, eighth grade graduation or employee appreciation lunch or whatever the case may be? Like, there are organizations that are and people who
Yeah.
always need an event professional to support what they're doing. And you should approach it as just getting the work done and not necessarily, is this the most Instagrammable work that I
Yeah.
can put up there? Is this the most Instagrammable, event? Or, I would feel so defeated when I had these big ideas for an event and I'm like, this is going to kill the gram. And then the client
It goes
comes back
womp
and
womp.
cuts out all of my good stuff. And I'm like, well, now
Yeah.
I'm not going to put on Instagram. But I
Yeah.
still got paid from that event. I got a referral from that event. I,
Yeah.
went on to do more events. And so you have to when we talk about mindset shifts, you have to really shift your brain to think about your events as a business and a of your creativity, but not necessarily something that has to be judged or put on a platform in order
Yeah.
for you to be successful.
Yeah, and I think the reason why you think that way too is because of your previous experience. With me, I'm like, I'd rather, like I said, I've been in business for over 10 years. I use my Instagram for my business really as like a photo gallery
Mhm.
because most of the decision makers, they're not looking for what I do on Instagram. Like what they'll do is if they hear about me, they'll go and look on Instagram and be like, oh, okay, that looks good. Let me now reach out to her. So
Exactly.
like, so it's understanding, okay, if I'm out here and I'm talking to people and I'm networking with people and having intentional conversations, even if I'm doing it part time, like, I think it's important to make sure that at least on a weekly basis, set like some type of consistency goal on
Mhm.
the amount of people you just talk to about your business. And when I say talk to them about your business, it's not you pitching your business. It can be talking about what's new and exciting, something you're excited about that's happening, upcoming. It might be a goal and say, hey, do you know anybody that's in this? I mean, or even do they know vendors that they can recommend? Like, don't only be in a position of thinking, how do you take in that conversation? Think about how you're just putting yourself in front of people.
Right.
Because I think there's, as much as I love social, I still value the ability to connect with people face to face.
Absolutely.
And that might be because of my corporate experience. Like, if small businesses really got into their minds and thought, wow, big corporations are paying people six figures that are great at doing inside sales.
Mhm.
If they are paying to have teams of people that are great at doing inside sales, why wouldn't it make sense for me to implement inside sales?
Absolutely.
They can pay to have someone do an amazing social media presence, and they do still do social media.
Mhm.
But they also know that I'm not waiting for my person to just stumble across my social
Right.
media to say, you know what, I want to go to you for medical services, because
Yeah.
that is not
That's not
how
how
that
it works.
works.
That's not how it works. I would actually also say that if I did have a social media that I do give some attention to, it would be LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my strongest platform for connection because it's very easy for me to, look up companies that I want to partner with, just look up the decision makers and
Yeah.
say, hey, these are some services that I can offer you, either my website or my Instagram or whatever to point back to,
Yeah.
again, as a photo gallery, as a portfolio, but not necessarily, I'm not, like you said, I'm not looking for my client on Instagram. It's just, It's just not happening.
No. And that might be also because we're in a corporate space, but still, like,
Yeah.
here's the thing is that the beauty about corporate, even if you're not necessarily doing it the way that either one of us are doing it, is that corporate isn't only like the Fortune 500s.
Right. Oh,
Corporate
yeah.
can even be your like if you're not going to your local SBA, your chamber meetings, those businesses are corporations as well. And like,
Yeah.
what would it be like that if you are in whatever city or county you're in, and when they're doing their summer July 4th, they may
Mm-hmm.
have an event planner. Typically, they'll have like an event organizer that is in charge of it. But why don't they know about you as a vendor?
Right.
Why
That's
are you
very
not
true.
even on their radar?
That's very true.
So like it takes time. It takes really being intentional, and that's why I say I would never teach y'all how to do creatives. I want to like let's have conversations about like what we're really doing in our business to help us grow. But one of the things I did want to ask you is that now that you have technically these different prongs that are going on in your life, do you keep doing both or do you just stop?
Man, from 2020 to 2024, I asked myself on a quarterly basis, should I be doing
Real talk.
my goodness, my therapy sessions, I still go to therapy.
Yeah,
I believe it's a
I believe in it
preventative
too.
practice. Yes, I believe in
Yes.
it. But for the longest, all of my sessions was about me doing both, about both of these jobs, and should I be doing it? And is this, am I actually getting something out of it, or am I taking more away from my life? And
Yeah.
I struggled with that for many, many years. And I think what it really boils down to, and I did a lot of prayer and a lot of conversations with God about this too, because and what it always came down to was if you want to make money, but you know you're going to be unhappy, stay at this, do your 9 to 5 only, right? But if you want to build some peace, and if you want to peace, if you want joy, because I do find joy in every
Yeah.
event that I do. Like it really is like this career really does bring me joy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you really want that genuine joy, if you really want genuine peace, and if you want to create a legacy that your kids can follow, that they have something that they can hold on to, then you need to keep pushing. You need to keep moving
Yeah.
forward. And honestly, and that's just me. Like that, these are just conversations that I had to just sit down and have with God. And as time evolved, and especially in the season that I'm in right now, I can see the fruit of being consistent. I can see the fruit of getting past some of those the hardest days, the hardest weeks. I can, I can see the fruit of the sacrifice, and I
Yes.
can see a path of how it's going to evolve to being from a monetary
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah. Yeah.
being
Yeah.
the career that I want it to be. And so, um, I don't know if that answered your
No,
question.
that is. And I mean, because it's transparent. Like,
Yeah,
and it's not a right or wrong answer. It's just what your truth is.
yeah,
And the truth is that you're going to have these moments. Like anyone that's telling you that every day as an entrepreneur, as someone that's been doing it full time, I've probably thought to quit multiple times. I've thought to change careers. I've thought, right now I've been in the space of, okay, maybe I'll return back into the workforce. I worked with someone to do career coaching and to help with writing my resume, like all of those things. But the biggest thing that you even just shared is something that I think is super important for us to learn in this process is how we are going to be consistent in this journey. I
yeah.
think sometimes because how it's positioned or marketed or promoted online is like, it's just like, oh, I decided I woke up and then like 3 months later, it's
Mhm.
like, wow. But then they don't tell you beforehand, I had did X, Y, and Z. So then when I just got the space, I already knew how to market because I was a marketing expert before and I already had relationships with X, Y, and Z. So that's why. But then their challenge is going to be a different challenge, or their learning lesson is going to be a different learning lesson than yours. And it's just
Right.
because of the perception that's given.
Yeah, and anything that's of quality and is of substance is going to take a while to build. It
Mhm.
just is. Honestly, my businesses have been very slow burn over the years. They've been fully self-funded. I've never taken out any funding or done fundraising for either of the businesses. And so that's a
That's a
piece of it
blessing.
too. And it's
Yeah.
a blessing. It is. I don't have anybody that I owe,
Yeah.
money to right now. Like so it's like it takes time and it's going to be slow, but it's if you can be consistent in it, like you said, and just doing a little something every day, knowing that, I might not be booked out months over months, but
Mhm.
it's sent that email or I made
Mhm.
that connection or I reached out to so and so and they put me in touch with, whoever. Like even just taking those tiny steps to just be consistent with how you're operating your business, it goes a long way. And like you said, the tiny steps will turn into the big rocks, and
Yeah.
that next thing you know, you got a $50,000 contract that's dropped on your lap and you're like, I didn't even expect that. It just
Yes.
happened that way. The things that I've seen over these years, the gigs that we've gotten, the contracts that we've had, there's no way I could have planned for it. There's no way I could have seen it in the horizon. Like they just came
Yeah.
to us and every day has been different. So you just gotta keep pushing.
But then that's also the beauty of having the job and then also
Hmm.
having a partner. Like I had did a post on Threads. I was like having a partner that's supportive, and that doesn't mean that it's always perfect, but
Hmm.
having a partner that is going to be able to support your vision as well, it helps. And that's why I think sometimes it's important for us if we're going to just jump out there full time. Like for me right now, like I'm single and it can feel like like a
Yeah.
trek up the hill because it's something if I have a slower month, granted I have multiple income streams, which I'm super grateful for, but like that's why I think it's important for us to understand that. I remember years ago when I was still in DC, I used to do like Lyft in the morning because most of my clients weren't calling me until 11 o'clock. So I would wake up in the morning and for a few hours in a day, I would do Lyft and Uber. And then boom, I would stop at the library and I would start working. Like it's really understanding like how do you have extra income to help float the months where you're not getting those bookings. And I think that when you have that extra paycheck, be it from a full-time job, part-time job, something you love, something you don't love, that is able to help bring in some extra income, it allows for you, like how you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, it removes the pressure of desperation.
Yes, absolutely. The pressure of desperation, that's a lot to bear.
Yeah, because then you're like, okay, and I know even with what I do, there's some of my vendors that are literally underbidding. And
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
like,
every day.
but they're underbidding to get work just so they can make money. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying like, oh man, like I'm like, I don't even want to know how those numbers are making sense to you
Yeah.
right now. But when you're acting out of a desperation, I remember a couple of years ago, there was someone that is really popular in DC in a corporate space, and he was doing omelet stations. And he was like charging, when I say a couple of years ago, I mean like maybe 3 years ago, was charging omelet stations $8 per person. I'm
Mm.
like, that's cheaper than an egg sandwich at McDonald's.
Yeah, literally.
How are you getting a chef? Like, I don't care where you're getting your eggs from wholesale, you know, like, how are you paying someone to actually be a chef? Like you're either underpaying that chef, like so that means you probably have last minute cancellations and all those things because like there's no way that makes sense financially. Even
Right.
if you have a volume based model, that means you're having to do 3 times, 4 times the amount of events just so that you can make the same amount the money that you could have been making if you charge correctly. So having a full-time job really does allot you the flexibility to say no
Yep, it
and not
does.
taking it.
It does. And if you're looking, if you're committed to your business and you need a job, may it not be a 9 to 5, maybe it's a part-time job, whatever. You know your finances and you know what you need. Find something in the vein of the work that you want to do.
Mhm.
Find something. I remember when I quit my job for the first time, I tried to go work at a flower shop and just to like be a
Yeah.
hand and like sweep and stuff. And he asked for my resume and I gave him my resume and he looked at it and he saw, my degrees and my past work experience. And he was like, I see what you're trying to do here. He was like, but I don't think you're going to be happy like you think you are. But, I say that to say, find a job that makes sense for you and that you will build a skill that you can take over to your business. That's the goal. Is just to have
Yes.
a paycheck, have some benefits if possible,
Yes.
and build enough skill that you can transfer over to your business. But it's
Yes.
worth it. It
Benefits
is.
are golden, y'all.
They really
Like we
are.
need to have Ks, like we need dental. Like here in Texas, like even with Affordable Care, dental is not even included. So that almost 600 doesn't even include dental. Like
Yeah, that's a
every
struggle.
it's a drug, so it's like if you're going to do it, know that it takes time. Allot yourself to have the grace, making sure that you are making the best decisions that make sense for you and your life and the family and the lifestyle you want to live. If it's that you want to be able to travel, you want to be
Yeah,
able to comfortably pay bills, like know those things, and then also play the long game. I
yes.
think that that's the important part, because it's like being okay with allowing it a year to grow, 2 years to grow, because most businesses don't statistically make it over 2 years, and most businesses don't make it over five, because of one, there's not any financial backing behind it. So if you don't have those means, like do what you can do to control some of the challenges that are outside of your control. I
I've
think
had
is the
so
important part.
many, absolutely. I've had so many just people in the industry tell me that it really didn't start to like click
Hmm.
until after 10 years. Like it didn't really start to like move, automate, consistent name recognition, things
Hmm.
like that. And these are not like Uber, Instagram, got a million followers type of people. These are just regular folks, but they were saying that it didn't quite get to where they wanted it to be until the 10-year mark. And I've heard that from multiple people.
Yeah.
So I'm on the 8-year mark right now,
So
and there's
you've
still
already,
some room for improvement.
but the
But
thing
yeah,
is that you've passed that mark, because even like right now, me and my VA, we're going through like our email list, and I was just like, dag, our open rate has drastically changed. I'm like, but this makes sense. Like since we started, the Green Eyed Ambition and also the podcast and stuff, I'm like, we've been doing this now since 2020. I'm like,
hmm
statistically, at least 75% of the people that might have started following me in 2020 are no longer in business.
sense.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like most of us aren't getting past that 5-year mark. And some of it's because we're not, for different reasons that I'm not going to dig into. But I think it's important for us to understand the value of, having supplemental income, still being able to give yourself the flexibility with a full-time job. So one of my last questions I have for you is like, what's one thing you want side hustling entrepreneurs to hear about from you that will help them with either staying encouraged along this journey?
My husband always asks me, if I didn't have this business, would I still be passionate about the work?
Mm,
Like if roses aren't red, it wasn't a true business that I market, would I still do flowers? Would I still like table decor? Would I still do graphic design? Like would that still be work that brings me joy? And if the answer is no, then I shouldn't be doing the business anymore. But if the
mm,
answer is yes, then that's how I know that this is still something that's sustainable and that I'm going to want to do in the long run. So I say that to your listeners as well is, you know, if you strip apart away all of the things that it takes to run a business and at the core of it, you still find passion and love for the work, then you should stick it through because
yes,
this is if you step away from it, you're going to fill a void. You're going to
yes,
feel that creative void that's not being fulfilled, and you may have stepped away too quickly
yeah,
just because it was hard. It is hard.
yes,
I think that knowing and feeling validated in the fact that it is difficult to do this is half the journey because sometimes we feel just so alone on this island, like Nobody understands what we're going through. It is a difficult journey, but it's a passion play, and
Yes.
it's a way to match your passion with your resources. And
Yeah.
if you do it long enough to where it's all aligned, you're going to find yourself. Alignment is priceless. It's
Yeah.
just you can't take away from that. So I would just say, stay encouraged and keep pushing.
So how can people connect with you if they want to?
If you want to connect with me, you can reach me on social media. My handle is Roses, ROSES RNT.RED. That's the business. Low and Rosie is the venue. I'm actually here now. It's kind of messy back here, but you can reach us at LO.AND.ROSIE. And that's the best way to get in contact with us on Instagram. And you can send us an email. You can see our website, but that's all on our Instagram page.
Well, I thank you so very much for being a guest today. And I feel that I feel that the tips that you were able to share are just so valuable because we often don't hear about the process or what it looks like or the methods and the strategies that we can have while we still have a full-time career as we are still building our business. I hope that people hear that, that success isn't just because you don't have a 9 to 5 or that your 9 to 5 is a barrier, because you can use your business as a way to invest in your business and to be able to give you the flexibility that you're desiring so that you're not having to do business out of desperation, but you're able to build your business full of passion and purpose and be able to feel as if the journey itself is unlimited as long as you have your heart in the right place. So keep pushing forward. Don't give up. And I look forward to y'all enjoying this episode. Make sure if you find this episode valuable, share it with someone that can value this and then also comment. And we love to hear from you.
Thank you.